did 2 whole cars. It was me, Dez, and me 3, right? And on the first car, in small letters, it said, "All you see is," and then, you know, big, you know, block silver letters, it said, "Crime in the city," right?
At the Grand Concourse 149th Street station in the Bronx, graffiti writers gather at what they call the writer's bench.
Yeah, what's good, what's good? It's your man Kill, live from the writer's bench with 2 of my soldiers in effect today. We got my man Evan Beezo. What's good, y'all?
Peace.
Shout out to the guy Vic who can't be here right now, you know what I mean? But it's all good. Yo, today's show is going to be about the staying power of hip-hop in 2013. And the way this show kind of came about is because I realized there's so much good music that still comes out, but 2 or 3 months after it comes out, I'm not listening to it no more. And it's not because it's whack, it's not because the production wasn't good or the lyrics weren't good. It just seems that stuff just doesn't sit with me as long as it used to sit back with me back in the 80s and the 90s, you know. So just wanted to chop it up with my brothers about, you know, do y'all feel that way? We could just start with that. Do y'all feel that way? Do y'all feel like you hear a dope album right now, 2013? How long does it stay in your iPod, your phone, your whip, however you listen to music? Do y'all feel the same way?
Well, I do. I mean, it's funny because I've said this a number of times to people that I think a lot of these songs nowadays, they got the shelf life for like a glass of milk on a hot summer day, man. That shit is right there. But I think what's happened is like the way a lot of these some of these hip hop cats, in terms of how often they started having albums coming out, like a Jay and like a Puff and them type of dudes. Because you think back to like '88, I mean, shit, you get a Rakim album 1 year, you wouldn't hear another Rakim album for like a year and a half. You know what I mean? It used to be some time. And I think it was Alicia Keys that said some shit a few years back. She said something about, you know, I don't want to get tired of the artist. I want to kind of yearn for the artist. You know what I mean? It's like cats is putting out music so fast. It's like the drug dealer mentality. You know what I mean? Flooding the market with music and trying to stay relevant. And then when you had all the mixtapes and, I mean, my God, man, it used to just be Kid Capri and what's homeboy,
Ron G.
Yeah, Ron G and them cats used to just be them 2 and maybe 2 or 3 other dudes. But now, I mean, yo, cats just come out the woodwork. You go on, what was it, 2 Dope Boys or Dat Piff and all that. But there's a new mixtape from some cat you ain't never heard of, or some artist you never heard of, every few days type shit. Right. I think it's a lot about the way cats have started making the music, how often they push it out, that even we as listeners, even people like us who, we may not listen to all the quote unquote popular hip hop, but even amongst the type of hip hop we listen to, yo, you just get so accustomed to rocking with this, all right, and now I'm going to this, that I think it's part of the game at this point, man. It's kind of, again, one of the effects of this hip hop culture, man, where for the artists, they try so hard to stay relevant. They feel like they just gotta keep putting more and more music out there, mixtape here, or you know, dropping a joint on that verse on this app. It's just non-stop, man. You don't get a break from an artist nowadays, man.
So even if a joint is dope, so like say an album comes out, like for me, it was the Pete Camp Low joint. Probably dropped, what, maybe a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was crazy. And then just the other day I was in the car and I'm like, man, I ain't listened to this for a while. Threw it in, was enjoying it again, and it just made me stop and think, like, in the glory days of hip hop, I didn't have to, you couldn't pay me to take Strictly Business out. You know, you couldn't pay me to take, you know, Straight Out the Jungle out. Like, you had to pry it out of my...
It would last at least a season.
Right, it would last a season. Yeah. So now, what do you think? Do you have that same feeling, like it doesn't stay with you like it used to?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sitting here thinking, like, I don't know why though. I can't understand why. I mean, of course, a lot of the music is not as good as it was, but when you get something that is good, it really doesn't last. I mean, for me, the last one that I really rocked with was Kendrick Lamar's last first whatever album. I think it's a banger. I think the album was dope. I think the album was a banger. But I listened to it for a day or two, and then I stopped for like a week. And then I may come back and listen to it again, then I stop for like another 2 or 3 weeks. And now, I mean, funny thing now, I don't know when the last time I actually listened to it. So I mean, the thing is, I don't even know. I don't know if it's just like the point where I'm at in life. Actually, what I think about honestly is that I think we're at a point where just is so much music out there, and it's like over flooding the market at this point.
The market's been flooded, man.
Yeah, the market is
flooded,
definitely.
Do you think the reason is so you got a dope album, but you don't listen to it because there's so much other stuff that's coming out?
It's almost like, how can I put it? It's almost like if you go to your front door and you just got 100 baskets full of fruit, and the next day is the same thing, next day is the same thing. After a while, you know, it's not going to mean nothing to you after a while. It's like, oh yes, you know, that shit is outside. It's whatever. It's in the basket. It's outside. But it just, you know, for me, I think it's just because it's not like I listen to everything that's coming out. But
Right.
you're always getting a post about something. Somebody else's album is coming out, and you get, you know, everybody's pushing their projects hard. You know, everybody's doing. You know, I think the fact is, it's a good thing that we all have means to put together projects in our bedrooms, in our homes. And, you know, we can put together videos, you know, with our own stuff. I mean, everything is now more at the user's hands, but now I think it's just too much stuff because there's no, at least before there was you went to the record store to find something. You went there, you know, waiting for, you knew when the next EPMD album was coming out. You knew when Nas was dropping his second album. Like you anticipated that coming. I remember waiting for Tribes for Electric Relaxation. I remember like the month, 2 months before, like, yeah, Tribes about to drop that joint. Waiting for it. But now it's like, it's, you know, all that has changed, so you don't know what's coming out, and when it comes to you, it comes through, you know, through the internet, and you just get flooded.
You know what I think part of it is too is the depth of the music and the lyrics and all that. Because you think about, like, I brought up Rakim, but any like dope MC or whatever, it's somebody that's really spitting something back in the day at least. You might hear something like the 12th, 15th, 20th time that you didn't even peep the first 10 times you listened to it. You know what I'm saying? But nowadays, a lot of these artists, man, you can see their punchlines come in 4 lines before it hits. You know what I mean? That's just the punchline. So you already know what the content's going to be about. If there's a video, you pretty much already know what the video's going to be about. You know what I mean? With the images and everything. It's like, you know, like Ev just said with, you know, you already know that shit is outside. So it's like, it ain't as big a deal to you. It's just everywhere. It's in abundance. You can just walk out the house. Oh, it's right here. Oh, there's some over there. And it don't even have to be good, or it can be good, but it's like there's so much of it. You almost at times got to like push some of it away. Like, all right, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to put it down for a week or two and then come back to it. I mean, let me ask you this, Kill. What was, for me, the last album like that I listened to for a long stretch was the Wu Block joint with Wu-Tang and the Locks.
Okay.
That was the last one. I listened to that hard for like a couple of months, like every day. And then it's like, it was funny because when I first copped it, I listened to the whole album like almost every day on my ride to and fro, you know, where I'm going. And then as time went on, I narrowed it down to like 6 or 7 songs. Then, you know, a month later, it's down to like my 3 or 4 songs. Now, I make a playlist on my iTunes, you know, it's like my 3 bangers that I gotta have off of that album that I listen to. So what was the last album that did that for you and shit? Where you like, you just kept rocking it over and over again?
Dog, I don't even know, man. To not even hold you, and I think it's because there's so much music that comes out, like you said, Ev. You know, I think one of the things is, to answer your question, I don't even know. Not even to hold you. I'm with you, Ev. I love Kendrick's album. I mean, I still bang it now from time to time, but I think it's 2 things. Number one, my man Mills made a good point of it once. He said, you have all this build-up for albums. Like, you know, cats will be talking about, here's Kendrick's album, it's coming next week, it's coming next month, he leaked a new song, he did this. But then when the album drops, it's like you hear about it for a week, and then it's like, okay, on to the next, you know, big release. Yeah. And then the other thing was something that Nas has said once in the interview. He was like, yo, if the music's dope enough, it'll find its way to me. And it's kind of like, after reading that, that's kind of what I started trying to do. Like, with all these new dudes out here, you go crazy with trying to keep up with, you know, who's the next one. Yeah. And it's kind of like, that's kind of how I got put on the Drake a couple of years ago, because, you know, I was hearing his name and everything like that, but it wasn't until like 4 totally different dudes told me about Drake. It was like, one of my peoples who's straight is still out in the streets. told me about Drake. One of my homeboys who goes to church told me about Drake. It was just, I kept hearing Drake. So it was like, all right, well, you know, if it's like Nas said, if it's dope enough, it'll make its way to me. So I was like, okay, let me check out this dude Drake. But what I did do, because like you said, Ev and Beezo, I didn't know why we do this. So what I did was I said, well, maybe, like you said, there's so much music coming out now. So what I did was I went to this site. It's real dope. It's called eclecticrelaxation.com. And dude had a list of all the albums that came out in 1988. So I wanted us to look at the albums that came out in 1988 versus a list of albums that came out in 2012 and kind of see, is it more music? Is it less music? Now, keep in mind, these are just albums. I didn't, like you said, Beezo, I can't even do mixtapes. I'll be here all day. But these are albums. So in 1988, we got Cash Money and Marvelous, and Two Shorts album came out in January. In February, Audio 2 and Biz Going Off came out. In March, Dougie Fresh's World's Greatest Entertainer, Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince, He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper, came out in March. In April, Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of a Million, and BDP's By All Means Necessary dropped. In June, Kane dropped Long Live the Kane. In July, Rakim and Eric B dropped Follow the Leader. In August, NWA dropped Straight Outta Compton, Rob Bass dropped It Takes Two, and EPMD dropped Strictly Business.
Oh my God, yo.
In September, Marley dropped In Control, Eazy-E dropped Easy Does It, MC Lyte dropped Light as a Rock, Kid and Play dropped Too Hype, Shan dropped Born to Be Wild. In November, Slick Rick dropped The Greatest Adventures. And then just another list of albums Money had found that dropped in 88, not the exact months. King T's Act a Fool, Jungle Brothers Straight Out the Jungle, Super Lovin' C Casanova Rudd, Girls I Got 'Em Locked, Skinny Boys They Can't Get Enough, Ultramagnetics Critical Beatdown, Ice-T's Power, Run DMC's Tougher Than Leather, Steady B's Let the Hustlers Pay, and K9 Posse album.
Yo, can I just say before you go any further, 88 was a good year for hip hop, man.
88 was dope, yeah.
Damn, son.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's.
So
I mean, I know that
this
year
is called
was
Eclectic Relaxation?
Yeah,
Eclectic,
ECLECTIK relaxation.com.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Again, I think you know what it's kind of like.
And the reason why I say that is because, okay, so when we do a listing of that, now again, these aren't, I'm sure there's some other records that slip through the cracks, but the number of albums that I just listed was 28. So in 1988, we had 28 albums come out and a whole rack of classics. You know what I'm saying? So my first thought was, well, maybe back in 88, albums didn't really come out that much. That's what I liked about Dude, was he kind of broke down the months. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I didn't imagine that 28 albums would have come out in 1988. Like, if we just started this discussion, I probably would have said maybe 15, 16, 17 came out. I wouldn't even been thinking 28, and definitely not all these classics. And I mean, so my first inkling was, well, less music probably came out in 1988, but 28 albums is a lot.
Wow.
And we got a lot of I'm bugging that in the same month, It Takes a Nation and By All Means came out. And I can remember banging both of those. I mean, if I could have been banging them both at the same time, I would. So looking at that, why do you think in 88, out of these 28 albums, I'm sure all of us on the bench spent time with the bulk of these albums? Why do y'all think that was in 88?
I do think one of the biggest differences is the social media. I mean, you know what I mean? But just not even the social media, just the internet period. Because I do think it's made the world a much smaller place. You know what I'm saying? In 88, I couldn't jump on something and without paying mad dough to connect with some cat in the Far East. But now I can go online. Hell, you know, any one of us, you could be sitting in Japan, I could be sitting in Australia, he could be in New Zealand, and we could be doing this. You know what I mean? So I think that has a big part of it. I do think that has made the world smaller. And like Ev said before, with, you know, now that you can make music in your house, you can do your own music videos. You have all these programs, a DJ, you just have to have an iPod and you know, that other Serato or some shit, and you can become a DJ. I think it's just so much of the music and the culture that's just out there. It's not just about how many albums came out. I think it's just how much of the whole scene is accessible, from the making of the music to listening to the music to buying or downloading or stealing the music, sharing the music. Because back then too, you wasn't getting a copy unless your man had a double cassette tape deck and he burned, he made you a copy. But now, you could send all of us 2 or 3 of them albums in one email. You know what I'm saying? You could put it in your Dropbox folder and I just grab it in the next 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Right. It wasn't like that back then. So I think it's all of those things, and I do think it's the fact that like the depth of the music isn't there as much. So you don't, how do I put it? It's like, it was kind of like watching like a movie, like a dope movie. Usual Suspects, if you started watching that from the middle of the movie, you might get lost, but that's a dope movie. You don't have to see it from the very beginning. Nowadays, though, it's like you watching the first few minutes of a movie, it got your attention. You're going to get up, go do some stuff, come back, watch it a little bit, go run in the bathroom, go to this. It doesn't catch much of your attention because it's just another movie. You know what I mean? It's no different. Hangover 3, how much different is that from Hangover 1? Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's all of those things, man. But my point though is that I think we as a people, our attention span is a lot shorter. I think that more than anything else.
I was just about to say.
Our attention span isn't what it was.
Before we hit you up, for that, I agree with you, Beezo, because there are times that I find I can't. There are days that I'll be like, I'm gonna just watch this basketball game and not be on the computer, or not tweet on my phone, or not do this. And it's like pulling hairs out to literally just sit there and do one thing. So I do agree with you that I think our attention spans are shorter. We're so used to now multitasking. Me and Ed were talking the other day. I don't know how dudes tweet, who are big on Twitter, who are big on Facebook, who are big on Instagram. I'm like, how do y'all do this and still go to work and have a job? Like, there's just not enough time today, but people have found ways to just juggle 50 million different things at the same time. So I totally agree with you that I do think that our attention span as folk in general are getting shorter. But Ed, what do you think? You hearing that list of albums in '88? I mean, Kane drops in June, and 30 days later, Eric B. and Rakim drop Follow the Leader. You know what I mean? So we're getting 2 hip-hop classics back to back, but I'm sure, again, all of us spent time with these albums. So what do you think, Al?
Oh, I mean, to piggyback a little bit, I think, with the whole thing about attention span, I think you're completely right. Like, I just think that's been something that's been, we've been taught to have a shorter attention span from that point to now. The whole thing. I remember back in the day in high school, I think I was in a class and it was like, if you go home and look at a commercial, the image won't stay there for more than 7 seconds. Now it's like 2, maybe 3. So it's like, so I think definitely our program has, as far as attention span goes, is a lot shorter. But I think another thing that plays a big part is money. I think, hip hop wasn't making money back then the way it's making money now, which was, in a sense, it was kind of better, because then you can have artists that can talk about certain things that probably cats won't talk about now because it's not going to make money. But for the things that they talked about, and I think about it, the albums that I stayed with, that I stick with for a while, is because I get some type of something in my personal life relates or connects to what they're talking about. So, I'll live with it more, I'll listen to it again, and like Beezo said, you'll hear it for like the 10th or 12th time and hear something different. But that's because there was a personal connection. And now, to me, with money means audience, and audience means, okay, I need to cater this kind of way because I want to make money from it. So I think, that kind of was a little bit of a downfall because the content itself is just different. So I think that plays a definitely a bigger part as far as, what we're getting today.
And something else that I think kind of plays a part in that back in '88, it was like the industry itself allowed the shelf life of an album to last longer.
Right.
Because you would get, if we just look at Low End Theory, you get Check the Rhyme. You get Check the Rhyme usually 2 to 3 months before the album even drops. So you just get the love on Check the Rhyme and just chill with it. It builds up the anticipation, and Low End Theory drops. Then maybe a couple of months after it drops, we get Jazz, the video. You know what I mean? We lived with that. We loved how they flipped it into Bugging Out. So it's like you're getting 2 videos for the price of 1. Then they hit you with the Scenario video maybe 3 or 4 months later. So it's like the record label itself allowed the time span for you to enjoy an album. It's almost like the record label was reminding you we're still here. Like, don't forget about us. You know, here's the new single. In fact, and something that nobody really does nowadays that they used to do back in the day was the remix. You know, the scenario remix. You know, that was enough to pull you back in. You know, Tribe was infamous for that. You know, the Oh My God remix, the remix to this. You know, it was a Black Moon, the remix for I Got You Open, the remix for Buck 'Em Down. It was always a way.
Shut 'Em Down remix was even better than the original.
Right. It was a way to continually pull you back into the album. So just when you was about to say, all right, I'm done, here comes the remix for Scenario. And it's like, oh, that's bananas. You know what I mean? And then it makes you grab the album again. Well, I'll never forget, Big Boy's first album came out, and with the deluxe version, yo, the dude had already had 5 videos shot. You got the extra DVD with 5 videos already shot. You know, so when I buy the album, I'm already getting the 5 videos. So after I watch, I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, I've seen all the videos. You know what I mean? So it's not like the industry is giving you that carrot to pull you back. It's kind of like the industry is now giving you everything right now. Here you go, here's the album, there's no single, you know, here's all 5 videos.
It's a lazy approach and mentality to marketing, to making the music, all that. I mean, to piggyback on what both of y'all just said, you know, it's like when you talking about with the videos, think back to '88 with just 3 songs from off 3 of them albums with the Takes a Nation a Million. What was it? Time I Get to Phoenix video. Not time. The P.
Yeah, Night of Living Bassheads.
Yeah, Night of Living Bass. I take that and then take
Still in the Hour Chaos.
Take Kane's, and then you take that, then take Kane's I forget which one, where he's the Smooth Operator video.
Right.
And then Rakim's Follow the Leader video. Those are 3 entirely, the images were 3 entirely different types of images. You pull up 3 videos nowadays, they're gonna pretty much look the same. You know what I'm saying? It's either at a party somewhere, it's there's gonna be some big butt chicks running around, scantily clad. You know what I mean? It's just like, you already know what you're getting with this, so it's not really gonna keep your attention. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said before about this. All the shit is it's outside your door, so you're not pressed for it no more because you know it's there. You can go get it at any point, any time. And with the internet and all this other shit. And
that's an ill point too, because even when I'm shooting videos with artists, you know, when cats don't have budgets, you can only shoot in the hood. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's really just about me driving around DC all day trying to find a nice little, some grass somewhere or just something that looks dope. But you're right, it's not like we're gonna be able to rent a prison like Black Still in the Hour Chaos.
But even with that, I think if Cats was doing something different, like even if everybody was on the same budget line, like Beezo said, during that time you had cats were creative. They knew what their sound was, they knew what their element was, they knew what their zone was, and they would go into their zone and they wasn't afraid to do that. And you have like I said, you have Tribe do one type of thing, EPMD do another type of thing, Public Enemy do a third type of thing. But yet, and they can all have the same budget and still do that. But I think now cats, everybody's on, well, I'm going to do this because this sells. I'm going to do this because this sells. Not because this is who I am, this is what my music is about. It's like, oh, because this sells is what I'm going to do. And that's just,
and one other thing too, in terms of like how the industry itself has kind of warped our listening ability. There's 2 things. One, I remember years ago, industry cat basically telling me that like what happens in order for you to get paid, like when a DJ like Flex or somebody plays your song, that song has to play a certain amount of time in order for it to register for you to get royalties off of that. So what they would do, if you wasn't a big enough artist, if you wasn't, I don't want to say if you was greasing the right person's pockets, but if you weren't a big enough artist, your song would get played and literally the DJ would stop playing it, pop, right when your sound scan thing would click and you were supposed to get paid for it, he would mix the next song in. So it's like that attention span gets shortened. Like, okay, you just heard a piece of your favorite song or whatever. Puffy was good for that. That's why Puff, a lot of songs where Puff rhymed on with other artists, you would hear Puff will go first usually because he knows his verse is going to be played and he's going to get his royalties off of that one spin, even though it just played one verse. So it's like, that's part of like kind of warping our perception of how often, how we listen to the music and how much we digest. And another thing was, I remember years ago shopping beats, where it was like, it used to be at one point, and I'm sure you remember this, Kill, when you were shopping a song, the people you shopping into these A&Rs, you had to have that shit, an intro, the verse, the hook, maybe a bridge, a verse. They wanted to hear the whole song. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But now it's like if you go into offices and shop beats, but it got to a point about 10 years ago where, yo, don't even give me no intro. I want to hear the whole, like when I hit play, I want to hear what the dopest part of that song is. That shit should be played automatically. And if people listen to it, I've heard horror stories, cats going in there, and I've heard some of the beats they about to shop, and them shits is crazy. And you hear the changes, like, oh, this shit is bananas. But go in there and play it, and 3 seconds in, boom, boom, boom. It's like it doesn't immediately catch the A&Rs, because they're like, when the radio plays it, that shit has to be dope. The second it comes on, it's identifiable. Somebody knows. Like when they hear that Cameron Old Boy track, as soon as it hits, you automatically know what it is, and you heard it once. Oh, that's that dope shit. Because they know people's attention spans are like that now. So
yeah,
the industry has played a part in how we now perceive music and how we digest it.
And it's funny you say that, because for a lot of cats who watching and don't know, Beezo's my old head, who when I started making beats was one of the cats who really took me under his wing and was showing me things on the ASR 10 and the SP12. And one of the things, Beezo, that I got from you, that I still do to this day, is those little breaks, them little Beezo would cut up and have different, like almost like how Premier would scratch it. Yeah. Beezo and Shy would have like the little joints, like little vocal samples in there. Like after 16 bars of a Beezo beat, I knew here comes the chorus. No
more.
Right. And that's what I got to make in my beats. And the funny thing is I remember Beezo, I probably met you back in '94 and really started making beats in '95. And Beezo and Shy Roots would be on me like, yo, you got to change your snare, you got to change your kick, you got to, it was this thing at that time that it was like you can't use the same snare all the time. You can't. Right. There was almost this thing of more of a culture of production that it was just like I'll never forget. I heard this story that Diamond was mad at Mr. Walt and the Beat Miners. I want to say it was the drums. I can't remember. He thought that they didn't have the original, and Diamond was going on them like, yo, you got that from off one of the breakbeat albums, and Walt had to like show him, like it was like, yo, here's like it was almost like. It was just that culture. When we're always talking about the hip-hop culture, each piece of hip-hop has a specific culture that most people who don't do it don't know about. So somebody who's not a producer probably never even knew about changing kicks and snares, and who cares if you got it from a breakbeat or if you got it from the album. But all that to say, Beezo, is that even as time went on, I stopped. I'll use the same snare 5 times.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll use the same kick. I'll use the same
exact. Not even the same exact pattern almost. With
it's just like, who the hell cares anymore? Like, why am I spending 2 hours to find a snare?
I ain't overthinking it, man.
Right, that the MC don't care about, that the producer don't care about, that the label don't care about. I've gotten so lazy now that I'm just like, I don't even do the choruses no more. I'm just like, make a beat, I'll send it to the MC. If the MC, yays it, then I'll go back and build it out some more. But I'm like, fam, I don't even feel like wasting.
All right, so let me ask you a question then. I'm gonna speak on the opposite side of the fence. Is that one of the reasons?
What's that?
Longevity, that we don't have the longevity, is because we have, that's part of the process of other producers. Like, yo, it don't even matter. Let me just put this together, put this in here.
I don't know if it's part of it, because at the end of the day, I've never been a drum head. Like, I know producers who can sit there and literally tell you, for all I know, and I forgot who used to say this, I think Dre used to do this, like Dre would be like, yo, I use the same snare all the time, it's just how I EQ it. So at the end of the day, I don't know if Reasonable Doubt, for all I know, Reasonable Doubt could use the same, off of Jay's album, Ski, Primo, all them dudes could use the same snare every time. I don't think it really matters. Like I said, it was almost like an insider thing with producers. You know what I mean? Like, Beezo would be listening to, yo, Kill, that's the same snare. Like, we were critiquing each other's work. So that's why I'm saying, like, from the outside looking in, I don't think anybody who's just the average hip hop head who loves Reasonable Doubt, who loves, I mean, when you think about it.
They weren't paying attention to it back then.
Yeah. Right. When you think about it, it's funny because now knowing breaks and everything like that, think of how many times Impeach the President was used. You know what I mean? Das Effect's first album, them dudes used the same skull snap break like on 5 songs, and there was only 10 songs on the album. So I don't think using the same drums or anything like that has makes Das's album any less better than what it was. But I used to call the skull snaps break the Eric Sermon break, because he used to use it so much, hitting switches. I mean, we could just go on and on. But I just think so. I don't think so, but it could be. Right. But it could be. It could be.
Let me, Ev, I got a question for you, because I do believe that the lack of depth in the lyrics going along with all this other stuff we're saying, I think that's a part of it too. And you being an MC, and for the people who don't know, before this we were just discussing briefly two MCs and the differences between the two, and I made a point about how the one cat now is catering to a different audience. So if we're going to compare the two, we got to kind of compare him early in his career when he was spitting for cats in the street. So as an MC, I mean, do you think that the depth and the content, like you said something before about, listening to an album that you could relate to personally, and that obviously draws you in more. So do you think that the lack of depth in the music, I mean, the lyrics and how cats are talking about pretty much the same shit, it's six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. They talking the same shit with a different accent. You know what I'm saying? One's from the South, one's from the New York or whatever area.
Definitely.
You think that plays a part in it too?
Definitely. It makes me want to throw up in my mouth. Because man, the thing, and this is one of the reasons why I started not fucking with hip hop so much, or fucking with rap, I should say, so much, was because of the MCs aren't. There's nothing. Nobody was doing anything original. Nobody was pushing the limit. Everybody was staying in a specific zone. People realized that if I dumb it down, I can actually make more money. So everybody dumbed down. And I came up in an era where dumbing down was against the rules. Like, no, I ain't dumbing down. Like, no, I want these cats to think about what I'm saying. I want them to get it. To me, that was the era that I came up in. Was you heard somebody spit something and you wanted to just be like, ew, you hear what he said? He said that. Like, you wanted to recite what they were saying. Nowadays, you can't really recite a person's vocals because they ain't talking about nothing. And their wordplay is preschool. It's cat, bat, mat type stuff.
Well, when you hear people like a 2 Chainz and these dudes, and people considering them, and even Lil Wayne considering them like MCs, like, nah, he's a rapper, dog. He's not an MC.
Right. Most of these guys are rappers, but they're getting away with it because people are picking up, people are buying. It's easy for people to
That's my thing.
To bring it in. But it's interesting because, and I have to keep going back to this cat because I don't want to make it seem like he's the greatest in the world, because that's not the case. But when you were talking about Kill, you were talking about how you heard about Drake and somebody told you this, and you heard you went to church and somebody else said that. That's how Kendrick Lamar was for me. Like, cats were like, oh, you heard this dude Kendrick Lamar? I was like, nah, I don't know what you're talking. To a point when females were saying it, and I was like, wait, he's an MC, and you telling me I really need to listen to this cat?
Right.
After a while, I was like, okay, let me check him out, see what he's about. And that's why I kind of like what he, that little thing that he did on whoever that was album, just to kind of coming at Cat's neck. Because I mean, I miss those days. I think, me personally, I always feel like things going full circle anyway. I think we're going back, hopefully, we're going back into that era where cats really start writing again, like really writing, really taking your time to piece words together, like attempt to say something that's gonna blow my mind. Like, I'm looking for that. I can't wait until I get that again, because to me, as a writer, it inspires me to write. And honestly, I didn't have that much inspiration to do anything writing, because ain't nobody's like, yo, man, what y'all writing now? I got a rhyme 10 years ago that will run circles around the shit that you're talking about. So
I asked you that because I had a couple of conversations earlier today and a couple of days ago on like Twitter and I don't know, Instagram or some shit with a couple of cats. They're younger cats, probably in their early to mid 20s or whatever. One dude had a picture of Kanye at, I don't know, I guess it was American Music Awards, and he had a picture of Kanye up there accepting this shit with a quote from Kanye. And before I tell you what the quote was, the dude basically, his comment about it was, yo, Kanye is a genius. He represents just the next generation. And the quote was, you're only promised one thing in life, and that's death. And I'm like, that's not a Kanye quote, dog. That quote been, niggas 20, 50, decades, centuries ago saying that. Come on, man. Only other thing was death and taxes, but death, come on. You need Kanye to say that and accept an award to think that that's genius? Then today, another cat had the nerve to say that one of the reasons that Eminem is a genius is because he took the fact that his name is Eminem, Marshall Mathers, and instead of calling it Eminem like the candy, he spelled it out, and that's genius. I was like, dog, that was the logic. That's not genius. That was logic. He can't. That shit is trademarked. He can't use that. So he spelled it out.
That genius, we started to use that word very lenient in the mid to late 90s. To me, that's when we first started, because people used to say, you know, Puff was a genius. And I'm like, no, Puff had a very good idea. Puff had the great idea. Puff had the great idea of what the geniuses were, the Ron G's, who were taking the acapellas of the Stephanie Mills, Something in the Way You Make Me Feel, putting it over Impeach the President. Sure. They were the geniuses. Puff just had a good idea to say, well, let me take this, what they're doing in the streets, let me take it to the boardroom. So that's a good idea. So that's the problem, is that we used to begin to use that word genius. We should just throw it out. It just became just such a, the word just doesn't even mean anything anymore because we used to use it so loosely. But let me go into this. So,
yo, can I add to that real fast? My bad. I just want to add to that real quick. And I'm gonna just put it out there. Sometimes, man, I think as a civilization, we getting stupider. Like, we just dumb, and we just, you know,
my quote back to the other dude was like, I quoted back to the other dude like, yo, I started having it back and forth, and I just stopped. I said, you know what? It never ceases to amaze me how easily simple minds are moved. I'm like, him saying a line, Kanye saying a line that, I mean, my God, Kanye didn't come up with that line.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
come on, man. Like,
that's not that deep of a line. It's not that. That ain't that deep.
That's what I'm saying. It's not even deep. That's something you should just know in life. You know, it's the only problem is that. That's what I mean. It's like, I mean, we can get into a whole other thing that goes well beyond hip hop and music, but it is, man. It's about society, and I don't know, you know, how bad it is in other countries. We here in America, but speaking for Americans and talking to foreigners and how they perceive Americans. I forget who it was, man. Some comedian recently said some shit about describing. Oh, it was on the TV show Wife told me the other day, where the chick is Canadian and she did some shit did some foul shit, and then had the nerve to give him an attitude about the foul shit she did to him, and he was like, you know what? You were wrong, and then you were belligerent about being wrong. Guess what? Now you're really an American. And I think, and from the people I know that live outside the country, that's how they view Americans, that we're like, it's what I call an arrogant ignorance. That there's a lot of people who are short-minded, they don't have all the answers, they don't even have half of the answers, but they think they got it all figured out. And they're arrogant about it, and their approach and their attitude towards everyone else. But again, I mean, that should go into some whole other shit.
I'm going to just put this on there, and it's going to cause controversy probably with the listeners. Is it America, or is it white privilege America?
Well, I think it's
hold tight. Before we go down that route, I got a listing of albums, again, not mixtapes, Beezo, because like you said, I'd be here for the next 30 minutes, naming the amount of mixtapes. Albums that dropped in 2012. We got Gang Green, which is Alchemist and Oh No. Currency's Muscle Car Chronicles, Mano The Day After Tomorrow, Ja Rule's The Pain Is Love Part 2. Didn't know we needed a Part 2, but we got it. Primo and Bumpy Knuckles did The Collection. Stalley, Savage Journey to the American Dream, which is an incredible album. If y'all haven't heard it, it's dope. Check it out. Fame and Terminology's Physiology. Slaughterhouse, Welcome to Our House. I Don't Want No Joe Budden Jokes. Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. Cruel Summer by Good Music. Rick Ross, God Forgives, I Don't. T.I.'s Trouble Man, Nas's Life Is Good. Meek Mill's Dreams and Nightmares. 2 Chainz, Based on a True Story. Big Boy, Vicious Lies and Dangerous Rumors. Strange Clouds, B.O.B., Wiz Khalifa's album. Lupe and Fiasco's album. Alchemist dropped Russian Roulette. Big Crit dropped Live from the Underground. Killer Mike dropped Brat Music. Ab-Soul dropped Control System. Rock Marciano, Reloaded. Skyzoo's A Dream Deferred. Brother Ali's Morning in America, Dream in Color. Another crazy album. Jesus Peace by Game. Woo Block. ASAP Rock. Skeleton. That's 29 albums. So it's actually one album more.
6. That's how many of the albums you just named that I actually listened to or heard.
Right. I'm just right.
But, and I was saying, in the 6 that I listened to, I'd say 2 or 3 of them I really fucked with.
All right, but I'm glad you said that. That's a good point, because in 2012, and again, these aren't all the albums, we have 29 compared to the 28 from '88.
Is it possible to add something in? I know it's the last minute. If those
what's up?
Can we look at '94? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Is that like Biggie and then Woo and all them type cats? Is that era?
Yeah.
I want to say '94 was Return of the Boom Bap, Midnight Marauders,
Black Moon, shit like that.
I want to say that. But before we do 94, let's chop it up about 2012, because I think the great point, Beezo, that you made was, again, when I first started looking this stuff up, I was assuming, again, in 1988, less albums would have dropped than in 2012, where not really, almost the same amount has dropped. And I'm sure if we go back and look at that list of 88, there are more than 6 albums that you listen to.
26 out of those 28 I listened to.
Right. So you got 26 out of 28, but all these albums stayed with you. You lived with them. You chilled with them. 29, you only had 6. So again, you would think that with only 6 albums for the whole year, that these albums would live with us long. Because if that's all I have for the whole year, so then the question again, does it come back to like what we were saying earlier, the attention span? Because if you've only got 6 albums out of 29, why haven't you given these albums more time to live with? Because there's really no competition.
That's a good question. I mean, again, I think it does go back to the lack of depth. Where, I mean, the point that Ev made is right on, man, because going back to 88, you could relate to, if you was 14, 15, up into your mid-20s, late 20s, listening to hip-hop in 88, you could listen to almost any one of those albums, from Cube's America's Most Wanted, you know, to Public Enemy, to KRS, Kane, Rakim. You could listen to all of them joints and on some level relate to what them dudes were saying. You know what I'm saying? Just on a lyrical level, not even talking about music, just lyrically. Then the fact that the music video shit, it wasn't, I don't want to say as flooded, but it wasn't the same images all the damn time. You had literally, it was like watching different movies almost. You know, now it's like, I think it's Cassidy. I don't know if y'all heard his song, Damn I Wish the Game. Something about Damn the Game or some shit. But the whole song he's talking about, damn I wish the game was like this. And he's telling cats, you want to talk that gangster shit, like, nah, I can listen to this cat. You want to talk that flossy shit? Nah, I might as well listen to Jay. I don't need you. And he said, like, since they all sound alike, let's put them all in one booth, let them all just rhyme together. And that's what I said, like, yo, the best way to watch a music video is with the sound off. And just watch the buffoonery, and it's one nonsense video after the next, and it's the same images, dog. The same shit. So it's like, going back to 88, there's so many different, my point is, there's so many different elements of the culture of hip-hop from 88 that pulls you in on some level. Whether it was the video, because like my sister was kind of still listening to hip-hop, you know, she's a few years older than me, but she would listen to, she liked Rakim enough that she walked by the TV and I had Rakim on, she'll listen to it. She'll stop and watch the Rakim video. Nowadays, I mean, I'm not even putting video, I don't know when's the last time I watched the music video, because I already know what I'm going to get. I'll listen to a song, but I'm not going to buy a whole album per se, because I only really need this one song, because I have little to no proof that that album is dope. Even if I take all these websites and a million people hitting like and a million people saying it's dope, it's dope, it's dope. Because, Kill, what's the last thing you were saying on Facebook the other day, a couple weeks ago, about how I think it was Drake's album dropped, and immediately people, it's a classic. It's
I was joking, saying, you know, can y'all give it a day before y'all call it?
But that's what I'm saying. It's like you just said that they throw that word out too frequently. It's the same thing with like the NBA. You know, all of a sudden LeBron finally wins 2 championships. Oh, see, he's the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time. It's like, come on, man. It's like people just want to say things, but they don't take, because there's no depth. They take everything on face value. But in '88. You had mad different parts of the culture and the music that were able to pull you in on different levels. No matter if you listen to hip hop on some level, I don't care if you're from the West Coast or you're from the East Coast, you could relate to what P.E. was saying. You could relate to what KRS was saying, what Ice Cube was saying. You can relate to that shit. Nowadays, I can't relate to Meek Mill. I'm not in the streets of Philly running around on motorbikes doing wheelies and selling drugs. I ain't doing that. I'm 42 years old. I can't relate to Drake's pouring his heart out, to all these chicks. How you doing that? Oh, my gun is on my head. I can't relate. You know what I'm saying? If I got a pistol, it's because I'm protecting my wife and my babies. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like, I can't. It's not enough in this shit nowadays. Even what you said, Kill, other than you just, you know, kind of throwing your 2 cents in about 2 of them albums you named, there's nothing, any of those artists you just mentioned that makes you like, damn, I didn't know he had an album. I need to go listen to that. Other than maybe the J. Rue shit. I had no idea he dropped the album last year.
No, I said Ja Rule.
You bring up a good point, though.
Oh, there you go. Never mind.
Jay Rule.
Take that back.
I said Ja Rule.
Damn. I mean, that's what
But you know what? You bring up a good point, and I'm like, man, this is where we need categories. Because say if we had a bunch of categories, and all these albums that have dropped this year, say only the best out of whatever categories they fell in is the one that we actually listen to. Cats would change up what their content was about. They would change up what their style was about. They would change up what their artistry was about. But because we got so many people doing the same thing, we get flooded with one specific type of music that you don't really want to hear. It's like, yo, like you said, Cass, you said, I don't need you because I heard that from the two dudes that came in record for you. Yeah, so what do I need you for?
It's redundancy, man. Yeah. It's redundancy.
So tell me this: out of the 29 albums I'm named, Beezo, I'm just curious, what were the 6? You remember the 6 that you said you heard?
Yeah, I want to make you run it down all over again.
I'm sure it was the Nas joint.
Yeah, Nas.
Let me say this just for people in general. Did you hear the Gangrene album, the Alchemist or No album?
I heard a couple of joints. Yes.
Listen to that.
I didn't know that was the name of it, but yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear the Stally album, The Savage Journey to the American Dream? Listen to that. That's crazy.
The other Alchemist joint.
Oh, the Russian Roulette.
Yeah, I copped that. That.
Did y'all hear, and Ev, you was with me in D.C. when I was playing this for you, the Brother Ali joint.
Brother Ali joint was dope.
Born in America, Dreaming in Color. Did you hear that?
You heard Brother Ali.
Yo, I'll send you the link to it. Crazy album. Jake One, the producer out of Seattle, he produced the whole album. 4.5 mics, man. Love the album to death, man. Production is great.
Boo Block was one of them you mentioned. That, like I said,
now that's what I gotta check. I didn't check.
I heard that yet.
I got check.
I mean, I could wax poetic about, how I feel about Ghosts and Woo and all that, but y'all already know.
Right. And another joint, Rock Marciano's joint, Reloaded.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know he had a whole album, but because of you.
This is second album. That's dope too.
Yeah, I mean, I did listen to a number of his joints that he had up there on YouTube and all that shit.
And not to hold you, Big Boys, Vicious Lies and Dangerous Rumors.
I heard about that album, but I never heard.
I never heard. If I heard a song off, I didn't know it was off of that album.
Yeah, it's dope. But I think the most amazing thing from kind of just doing this little research was, like I said, my first assumption was, like you said, B, number one, going through this list of albums, half of these people I don't even care about. You know what I'm saying? That's number one. Like when you look at the 88 list, it's like you just reminisce, like, man, I didn't even realize all these.
I mean, think about that, son. You a teenager. We was teenagers back then. And I mean, it ain't like we had paper like that. It ain't like you go online and download the shit for free.
Right.
So you was scraping together change, whether you was a hustler or whatever. You was making it happen because you had to have at least, was it 28 albums you said?
Yeah, 28.
You had to have like 24, 25. You had to, like, no, there's no question. I got to cop this. Yeah. That's crazy, man. But I will say this, in fairness, I do think, I guess what, J. Cole, Kendrick, the Jay's joint, that's all this year, right?
Yeah. Kendrick was on the end of last year. J. Cole.
Right, but I guess it's kind of like this year. It's kind of really this year, because that's when it really started hitting. I mean, now, all things being relative, in relative terms, that's saying something, because those 3 artists in this year or already just blow away almost every single one of them people you named from last year. You know what I'm saying? Even just from a name, whether you really loved all 3 of them albums or not, like you said before about 88, you heard about it, you knew like, oh, I gotta have that, the whatever's about to drop, I gotta get this. So when them 3 albums came out, at least there was some anticipation, like, okay, I gotta check this. Even if you didn't buy it, I gotta check this J. Cole, because I gotta check this over here Drake. I mean, not me personally, but I guess Drake also, because for people that listen to Drake, people love it. And then you got the other side of that, people that can't stand it.
I got a question for you, Kill. The list of the people that came out in 2012, the majority of that list is in our age bracket?
Nah, because I mean, the majority of this music I haven't even heard. And the crazy part is that there's some underground stuff on here. To be honest, I didn't have I didn't want to hear Fame and Terminology's album. You know what I mean? Like, and I like both of them. And Stag Selected produced it, but for some reason it was just like, again, so much music, it never made its way to me. Nobody ever hit me up. Nobody texted me. Nobody tweeted me.
Fame and Terminology.
Fame and Terminology.
I don't even know what that is.
Terminology, Fame from MOP.
Oh,
B
okay.
did an album
Yeah.
with somebody else besides Billy
Yeah.
Banks?
Yeah, he did an album with Terminology.
Oh,
Terminology.
yeah.
I didn't know about
I got that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got that. I got
Yeah.
that in my iPod.
But I mean, like I said, I didn't even want to hear it. Sky Zoo, I mess with Sky Zoo.
I mean, out of the cats on that list that you know,
right.
you say the majority is in our age bracket. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to. No.
Well, tell me what do you define in our age bracket as?
30 and up.
30 and up?
I'll say 30 and up.
Nah, I don't think the bulk of this. Maybe 30% of this.
Okay.
For the 30
So maybe
and up
that's the reason why it's not relevant to us.
Right. But the key is, and I think one of the things that we're finding out from talking about is, like you said, Beezo said, and we all agreed that, number one, our attention spans are getting shorter just as a people, because like we said, it's one of those things. I'm a real 1 + 1 = 2 type person. So like we said, if we named all these albums and only 6 of them are dope, only 6 of them we sat with, then it's almost like 1 + 1 = 2. If there's only 6 albums for the whole year, these should have been the 6 albums we was riding out to the whole year. Like, we should be sick of Wu Block by now. We should be sick of whatever albums we pick. We should be sick of them because, like, we don't got nothing else to listen to. So all we can do is listen to that. But I think that is one of the points, like y'all said, our attention spans are shorter. The industry is pushing more down our throat. They're giving you the whole present right now. Like, I feel like and this may be a bad example, it's almost like Kwanzaa. You got 7 days to celebrate. Christmas, you just got 1. And it's like hip hop back in the day was like Kwanzaa. We're going to give you 6 months to celebrate this album. Where now it's just Christmas. And I used to hate that about Christmas because it's like you wait all year for this
anticipation
day, get it, and then the next day is like it's over. It's like, oh, well, here, day 364 to the next Christmas. And it's like, that's what hip hop is for us now. It's like, here's everything. Like, to be honest, I don't know if we're going to get another video off of Kendrick's album. I was shocked we got, Don't Kill My Vibe. We got, water, we got swimming pools, and we got that. And I was actually shocked. I'm shocked to see new videos come out from artists because I'm just in the mind frame of the album drop, and that's it.
Well, let me ask y'all a question. I got another question then. Is there such thing as heavy rotation anymore? Like, do y'all have heavy rotations? Do you have anything that's in your heavy rotation? Or
us, or in terms of the
y'all. Like,
yeah. I mean, like, yo, what I'm doing now, where I'm at now on a daily basis, working and stuff, I get an opportunity. I just listen to my iPod, my music all day while I'm working, pretty much.
So who's in your heavy rotation?
The past 3 days, I'm listening to R&B and slow jams from, I'm talking about shit I've been ranging anywhere from Johnny Gill and Tevin Campbell to, to whoever, some Cat Natties to some Miguel type shit, But in terms of the hip hop, it's like you say, like, I love Kendrick's album. I think it's dope. With Jay's album, the songs on there that I do fuck with, but I'm just not listening to it like that. For whatever reason, man. It's crazy. Sean Price was another album when I was listening to hard, until Wu Block, till I got that, then I listened to that crazy hard. But one thing I gotta admit about myself that is different, I think, from a lot of other people. I could not tell you what the last music video was that I've seen, man. I have not sat down and watched a video show or music videos, and I'm not exaggerating, in at least 10, 15 years. I don't watch them shits at all. I don't watch any award shows. I don't listen to the radio unless Mr. C, when he's not out tracing, hookers or whatever, he's spinning at 12 noon in New York, the throwback show. But other than that, I do not listen to the radio. It's like kind of what you said about Nas Kill, where he's like, if it's dope, it'll find me. And I've always felt that way. It's like, because think about it, like, whether it's a chick, a dope movie, a dope pair of kicks, the new joint, whatever it is, if it's dope enough, you're going to hear about it. It's going to find its way to you if it's that dope, especially if you're within a certain, certain circle. Stuff's going to find its way to you. But the scary part about it is, with the music now, when you start hearing all this talk about it, that makes me want to keep it in arm's reach even more. Like, because I know how cats usually get. It's like Cass is talking about a 6-piece like she's a dime, and then you see it's like, oh, that's what they're talking about? And that's how this music shit is, man. It's like, everybody talking, it's dope, it's dope, it's great, it's classic.
And it's almost who you got to hear it from. Like, I'll never, like you said, I don't reach for social media, so I can see a million tweets about something. It means nothing.
It doesn't do nothing for you, right?
It's about who brings it to you. But to answer your question, Evan, my rotation, To be honest, I've been banging. I'm like Beezo. I'm more R&B. I've been banging Justin's Part 2 of the 2020 album.
Because there's more depth to it.
Right.
Even some of the newer shit. There is more between the music and the lyrics and all that. And there's some emotion. If I'm going to hear emotion, I don't want to listen to Drake whining about some shit. I'm about to listen to Keith Sweat. Let me hear the real shit. Make it last forever. You know what I mean? Right. I don't need Drake whining about some chick he got feelings for or whatever.
So it's like Justin, Raheem DeVaughn new album.
Raheem DeVaughn
Leslie's new album. Really the only hip hop is the Pusha T joint right now. You know what I mean? That's probably the only hip hop.
How was that?
If you like Pusha, I think you'll rock with it. It's 2 songs I don't like. It's 12 songs.
I like Pusha T. I think he's got some lyrics. I mean, it's all about drugs and shit, but
yeah, I mean,
he put some words together though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, out of the 12 joints, 10 are solid to me. You know what I mean?
Check it out.
2 I don't rock with. 2, one of them, I'll tell you this, man. I'm gonna send y'all the link to it because it got 2 Chainz on it, and it just amazes me how horrible this dude is. Like, he literally said one thing like 3 times in a row. Like, and it's just like, yo,
he's not an MC, man.
So it's that's one of the songs I can't stand, just namely because he's on it. Like, this dude, and Big Sean is on it too, and I don't get Big Sean. So that's why I said, if a lot of our age group, I don't see the hype on Big Sean. I mean, Big Sean is almost like, if y'all remember, Memphis Bleek's second or third album had Jay-Z's Dear Summer on it, and they put it on there just to help it sell. Like,
Bleek, the hottest single on the album.
Yeah, like, Bleek is not even on the song. I've never seen that before, where there's another artist on your album and you're not even featured on it to help sell the album. It's almost like that's what happened to Big Sean. I don't know if anybody would be talking about Big Sean's new album if it wasn't for what Kendrick said on it, and it's for a song that didn't even make the album. You know, so it's weird like that. But I think
they made their mixtapes.
Yeah,
it's on their mixtapes, which is and we ain't talked about it, but I think that is part of the problem too. Is the mixtapes. Because the mixtape, and I mean, that more than else has flooded the market is the mixtape market.
But then we have to always define, because I'm confused now on mixtapes, because mixtapes are now albums. Like, in my opinion, when we grew up, like we all said, mixtapes were you rhyming over. Number one, a Clue mixtape was exclusives. It was like, here's all the new exclusives. A doo-wop mixtape was the Bounce Squad and getting other MCs to rhyme over other people's beats.
MCs wasn't doing mixtapes. Like,
it was a DJ that
it was a DJ doing the mixtapes. But when people say mixtapes now, Pusha T has had 2 mixtapes out, Fear of God and Wrath of Cain, that are actually, to me, albums, because they're all original music. You know, so it's the terminology now, like, you know, you get the mixtape to get people hyped for the album, but for most, like I said about Raheem DeVaughn's album, because Raheem DeVaughn really got known in the streets doing mixtapes, the difference with him, his albums are just as good as his mixtapes, if not better, whereas with hip-hop is the exact opposite. It's like your mixtape is crazy, and then we get the album in, and you kind of left scratching your head, and that happened with Jada's joint with the Champ Is Here mixtape. I copped that mixtape one day in a parking lot of Red Lobster, banged it. I was like, yo, Kiss is the nastiest. This is crazy. Can't wait to hear the album. I get the album. He got songs with Mariah Carey, and I'm like, yo, you know, outside
that's the difference between the mixtape. There's no rules. You as an artist can just do your thing. When it's the label, you got the A&R, you got the director of black music at the label, and they got an agenda. And like Ev said, it's about the paper, and that's why the mixtape albums are free, because it's like, fuck it. I mean, as a producer, that's the worst shit right there. Because, yo, fam, it's like, how am I getting paid? How am I really getting paid if my hottest shit is only going to make it on a free mixtape? How am I ever getting, at least for the artist, he can do a couple of dope mixtapes and book shows and perform and get paid off his shows. But as a producer, if the industry is only allowing a certain style of hip-hop or music, rap music, onto the airwaves, then it's like, you as a producer, you got to change the way you make your music. You got to do it a certain way almost, unless you kind of grandfathered in. You know what I mean? Like, you were doing it before it changed to where it is now.
And I mean, I think the problem is that is and it's a bigger problem, and we'll get into another show, but it's going back to the industry or the powers that be killing the culture, because you have big name producers like Just Blaze. I was reading an interview with him, and he's saying, you know, those $100,000 track days are over.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why he's like, I have to find different ways to make money. So that's why I'm out here hosting, you know, that TV show with the DJs. That's why I'm out here DJing more. You know, that's why you can't just be in your producer bag, because if you are, you know, I see more producers now trying to sell beats on Twitter. I mean, big name producers like, yo, get at me. You know, we having wholesale beats, like producers we grew up with. Talking about, yeah,
you can buy a couple of tracks off of these cats right now with what's in your pocket.
Right.
Type shit.
But, and think about that, 10 years ago, when would a big name producer who has produced for some of the artists that we grew up loving be talking about giving away beats for $300 and $400? You know what I mean? But because, and like you said, Beezo, that's now the death of the record producer. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think another dope show, y'all, coming up with, you know, the ideas of why the shelf life of hip hop and just music in general just seems to be few to none nowadays. Always live from the writersbench.com, youtube.com/live from the bench. Check us out. Beezo, salute. What's good?
Peace. We need a new community, y'all. We need a new community. Rebuild this community. You know,
what happened up?
So I was saying we need to rebuild our community. You know, this hip hop community, like
common unity. That's right. Yeah. Common unity in hip hop. That's what's needed.
Yeah.
You know, and the funny thing, just to chime out before we sign off, it's one of those things where I was saying, you know, my man is this dude I met through Twitter is doing a Kickstarter account for his comic book. He's trying to raise money for the comic book. So, you know, he shouted me out. I was like, yo, can you retweet this? And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna try and retweet as much as I can remember. And it was just like I said, just what if all the hip hop people like us and people who love the culture, if we supported the stuff that we were doing? You know what I mean? What if we supported the fact that everybody who's a producer out there, if every time I drop one of my singles, like Drizz's last single, you know, Where Can I Go? What if every producer, every hip hop dude who just loved hip hop retweeted that to their followers? You know, but we're in so much of a bougie society now, like to get somebody to like your page on Facebook is almost like pulling teeth. You know, to get a retweet is like, you know, are you cool enough to get a retweet? And like you said, Ev, it's just we have to rebuild our community, because hip hop wasn't built on, you know, are you cool enough? Like I said, I never beg for a retweet. All I'm saying is if I send you a song and you like it, you should want to retweet it. You know, like I said, I'm shouting out the site again. You know, eclecticrelaxation.com. Dope site.
It's dope.
Give me a lot of information I needed for the show. Yeah. You know, shout them out. But like you said, Ev, and that may be another show, and just how do we rebuild this hip hop community?
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on that. That's heavy on my heart, man, because I feel like if the content is good, there's an audience. It's just about being able to connect the audience to the content.
Art, man.
You know,
art is one of the.
That's what it
art
comes.
Is a signature of every society, man. Art, you know what I mean? And obviously, I'm talking about painting. You know, whether it's music, literature, or you know, sculptures, painting. Art is a part of every society, man. It helps define. When you look at the arts over every generation, going centuries back, you can get an idea of what that society was like based upon their arts. You know what I mean? And nowadays, 100 years from now, they look back at this generation in this era of hip hop. It's like, damn, right. What is there? There's nothing to it. It's like deep sea diving in the baby pool, man. You're trying to find something, but it's not there. It's not. It's a puddle. It's nothing there. You know what I mean? It's nothing to go off, man.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I mean, I'm gonna get off of this, but I'm just gonna say, like, you know, even to the point of artists just giving their stuff away for free. Like, honestly, to me, as an artist, we should just stop that, man, for real, because you work for it. We're working for it. You know, if you got a classical musician that'll put out something, they're not giving it away for fucking free. Yeah. So it ain't no different than what we doing, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Ours is a craft. Ours is we take time to learn it. We take time to master it. We take time to give it to the people. So it's just as important. But, you know, I'm not going to go down that road, man, because that shit like that is heavy on my heart.
That's right. You kind of did a little bit, but that's all right.
Right? I walk with you on that road. That's a whole nother show that we got to chop it up about, because I agree 100% with you, man. We've just gotten, the industry has told us we got to give away our stuff for free. You know, so
that's a movement right there, man. Stop giving away free shit. Like,
stop. And I don't want to say forget stop the violence.
If it's hot, I'll pay for it. Without question. I'll put it.
You should. I mean, think about it. If you need something, you need work from, say, a mechanic, your car's breaking down, and this nigga over here said, "Oh, I'll do it for free." do you really think you're gonna get the best work possible out of some niggas doing it for free as you would if you paying for some shit? Now, I'm not saying just because they pay money for it make it top dollar, but yo, like you said, you work for this, man. You earn this.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a fine line. It's a fine line because
if you got
money should also become a greed too for some people.
Right. If you got somebody giving away for free and like 2 or 3 people over here, then people they're not gonna appreciate it. They're not gonna have any value in what you're doing, and they're gonna want it for free. Don't get me wrong. I get free shit out because it's like sometimes I just want to get it to the listener's ears. But I'm like, yo, man, I feel some kind of way about that. Like I work hard to put this shit together. So. But that's
we're gonna start the stop giving away shit for free movement. Writersbench.com. Keep it locked. It's your man Kill, Beezo and Ev. Shouts to Vic. Salute y'all.
Peace.
Word, peace.